When historians look at the monarchs of Spain, one name is always at the top of the list of the worst rulers: Ferdinand III. His reign is remembered not for glory, power, or great achievements, but for cruelty, incompetence, obsession, and personal vice. Yet much of what has been written about Ferdinand hides the true reality of his life. Royal marriages, noble bloodlines, and the dignity of monarchy are often described as sacred or noble. But Ferdinand's life shows a very different story. Behind the gilded walls of the royal palace, terror, humiliation, and obsession ruled as much as law and politics. Before he became known as El Rey Felon, the felon king, Ferdinand was a young prince burdened with physical deformities and sexual difficulties. These were so extreme that his family, foreign ambassadors, and royal physicians documented them repeatedly. Letters from his mother-in-law describe him as barely a man, and multiple eyewitnesses recorded the details that would shape his marriages, his behavior, and the history of Spain itself. The story begins on a wedding night in October 1819. Maria Josefa Amalia of Saxony, a 16-year-old princess raised in a convent, waited in her bridal chamber. She was trembling, innocent, and terrified. Raised without understanding of sex, she did not know what was to come. Her attendants, embarrassed, had told her nothing and left her alone with only her white dress and a rosary clutched in her hands. When the door opened, she saw the 35-year-old king enter. Overweight, gout-ridden, with thick lips and eyes that seemed predatory, he approached her. But it was Ferdinand's deformity that terrified her most. He suffered from a condition that made normal sexual relations nearly impossible. Contemporary records describe his anatomy as extraordinarily long, thin at the base, and massive at the tip. For Maria Josefa, the sight was overwhelming. She fled the bed in terror, only to be pursued by the king. The attendants tried to intervene, but Ferdinand demanded they prepare his bride immediately. When he returned, the queen had lost control of her bowels in her fear. This horrifying wedding night set the tone for a decade of unnatural and fearful relations. To understand this wedding night, we must look back to Ferdinand's first marriage, at 17, to his cousin Maria Antonia of Naples. From the beginning, the young prince could not consummate the marriage. Letters from Maria Antonia describe months of awkward attempts, confusion, and failure. The royal confessor had to instruct Ferdinand on sexual acts in detail. When he finally managed to perform, after almost a year, Maria Antonia suffered miscarriages and eventually died at 21, her body broken by her husband's deformity. After her death, Ferdinand's personal life turned darker. A man who had been unable to perform sexually became a king obsessed with indulgence. Returning to power in 1814, after Napoleon's defeat, Ferdinand was 30, frustrated and drunk on power. He frequented brothels, often with a group of morally corrupt young aristocrats. Witnesses describe him boasting about his deformity and organizing contests among his friends to compare anatomy. He collected souvenirs from sexual encounters, marking a disturbing obsession that mirrored the cruelty he often exercised in politics. Ferdinand's second wife, Maria Isabel de Braganza, was 19, plain-looking, and Portuguese. While the king pursued his knightly indulgences, Maria Isabel sought to improve the court, founding museums and supporting the arts. She became pregnant in 1818, but complications arose during childbirth. The child was a stillborn, and Maria Isabel herself died during an emergency procedure. Ferdinand, unmoved, sought a new wife without pause. The third wife, Maria Josefa, was the young princess from the terrifying wedding night. For a week, Ferdinand refused her and then attempted marital relations repeatedly over the following years. Maria Josefa resisted as best she could. She believed the king's advances were sinful and only complied after Pope Pius instructed her that producing an heir was her sacred duty. She prayed through every encounter. Their marriage lasted 10 years without producing children. Maria Josefa died at 25, leaving another trail of tragedy. Finally, Ferdinand married Maria Cristina de Bourbon. At 23, she was beautiful, intelligent, and aware of his past. The royal physician designed a special cushion to allow safe sexual relations. Within 3 months, Maria Cristina became pregnant. On October 10, 1830, she gave birth to Isabella II. 2 years later, she gave birth to Luisa Fernanda. These births ensured the dynasty, but created political tensions. Spanish law forbade female succession, but Ferdinand issued the Pragmatic Sanction of 1830, allowing Isabella to inherit. This decision would trigger civil war after his death. Ferdinand's private life left a disturbing legacy. After his death, Maria Cristina ordered an inventory of his chambers. Courtiers discovered evidence of his obsession, cloths labeled with names and dates, confirming decades of sexual indulgence and abuse. Many witnesses recorded what they saw. Ferdinand had used his position as king to satisfy private desires, leaving a legacy of personal suffering intertwined with political consequences. Historians describe Ferdinand's reign as a combination of cruelty, obsession, and corruption. His private life mirrored the chaos of his kingdom. His physical deformities and compulsions distracted him from governance. Spain lost much of its American empire. Liberal reforms were crushed, and the economy suffered. Ferdinand's personal failures became national tragedies. Even in his final years, Ferdinand's reign illustrated the paradox of power and weakness. Despite ruling as an absolute monarch, he needed medical devices, planning, and negotiation to achieve what should have been natural. His reign shows how personal flaws can amplify political consequences, affecting generations. Ferdinand's marriages, obsessions, and abuses left a disturbing legacy. Each marriage ended in fear, tragedy, or death, leaving personal suffering alongside political consequences. Even after his death, his actions affected Spain. Isabella II faced civil wars, scandal, and instability. Ferdinand's personal obsession with sexual indulgence combined with poor governance left Spain unstable. Historians agree he was selfish, cruel, and morally corrupt. His story is a warning. Absolute power magnifies personal flaws into national crises. Ferdinand III's life is a tale of obsession, tragedy, and political failure. His deformities, sexual compulsions, and abuse left a trail of suffering and scandal. He failed as a husband, abused power,
and threatened his own dynasty. His reign demonstrates the human cost of monarchy, showing that personal vice can shake history as much as battlefields or legislation.
Don't forget to like the video and leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel so you'll be the first to know when new videos drop.